Hello there guys and welcome back to the channel. So today's video is going to be something that I allegedly would never do and never ever even dare to upload on my channel according to some Kabam forum users, and that is going to be giving a praise to Kabam, or more specifically to a specific employee working for Kabam, and in this case it's DLL. Now, as many of you know, Daddy Longlegs, DLL, or I suppose now we can start saying Kabam DLL. I don't know if he has gotten his Kabam nickname, but either way, DLL started this game as all of us, as a player in this game, then eventually started his own YouTube channel, entered the CCP, and got hired. Now, regardless what do you think about this system as such, and Kabam in general, I do think that pretty much nobody will be able to effectively argue the point that DLL is not good at his job, because he is. And again, let's make this something clear. Whenever some horrible and bad and awful and unprofessional things happen at Kabam, it is very easy for us to kind of look at the surface level actions and just refer to everything as, oh, Kabam screwed up, or Kabam messed up, or Kabam is bad, or Kabam is evil, or Kabam is the source of all evil in the world, or something. But in reality, it's all much more fragmented than that. For instance, none of us ever say that Kabam's design team is bad, because they do a great job. And each person working for Kabam obviously is their own person. They have their own work and track records. And whilst I absolutely believe that there are a ton of awfully untalented people working at Kabam, whilst I do think that there are a ton of horrible decisions being made in regards of game economy, monetization of the game, whilst I think that inability to fix issues with the game is and should be extremely embarrassing, and whilst I think that there are a whole bunch of incompetent people who are making the most rudimentary and stupidest mistakes in the world, and that genuinely makes me surprised that, anyone can make that many mistakes and still keep their employment. At the same time, I 100% know that there are people at Kabam who do their job goddamn well. Now, I have not met in person, but I have spoken with several of them in the past, and I also have spoken with Kabam, DLL. And whilst obviously DLL working for Kabam, I am sure that I am not his favorite content creator, or for that matter, probably nobody's favorite content creator that works at Kabam. I do find it very important to give credit where credit is due. And I think at this point, with his first 3 champion designs, he at this point would deserve benefit of the doubt. I would consider this as a highest form of praise when I say that if I hear that a champion is designed by DLL, I would automatically assume that the champion is going to be good. Now, that might not necessarily always be the case. Obviously, not every single, thing that you work on will always be a success ever in life, and there will be exceptions to that rule. But I genuinely do believe that DLL at this point does deserve the benefit of the doubt, because he has went 3 for 3, and every single one of the champions that he has designed is freaking awesome. It's great, and it's a very high praise as well, as higher praise than you guys might realize, because I think that these champions are powerful, amazing, yet balanced. And with that, I also definitely want to kind of showcase and explain Hercules, right? And I might say something controversial here. I don't want another Hercules in game. In fact, I would have preferred if this game never had a Hercules, or at least parts or aspects of it. Now, let me explain here. I do not want for Hercules to be nerfed in any capacity. I do think that once Kabam has released that champion, time has gone past by, people have invested a ton of money, time, effort chasing this champion. Only way ever Kabam could potentially get away with even minorly nerfing Hercules is if they would give every single person basically a 7-star selector with a 7-star awakening gem with max 6 stones, to a point where if they nerf Hercules, we can get any 7-star in the game and take him to the max sig or something like that. What I'm trying to say is, if Kabam tries to touch Hercules and get away with it, they would have to come up with an incredibly generous compensation package, including awakening gems for rank up materials and everything else for basically any 6-star and 7-star in the game. And then maybe the community would not lynch them to hell. And I agree with that, effectively, because anything less than that, again, undermines people's investment and commitment. But that said, I don't want to play a game where I pick up one champion and I just bulldoze through the content, not reading the nodes, not caring if I get hit, randomly stun locking everything in incursions, or just, finishing everything in AQ with 1 HP. Scratch that. AQ part is the only thing why I am still going to be in defend the Hercules movement properly. Primarily because AQ is a stupid game mode, and anything that makes that game mode more cheesable is an absolute win in my eyes. Alliance Quest is effectively like taking the same exact test 5 days a week, soon to be 4 days a week, but still, there's absolutely no reason for it to be so long or for it to ask of any certain skill levels or anything like that. Because let's face it, AQ is effectively a cash in on your prestige. That's all. AQ in my ideal world would, last from Monday to Thursday and would consist of 3 simple fights for each player or something like that. So you can just do it once very quickly and then forget about it. Anyways, back to the point. I don't want more Hercules in game because I think that game's boring. I much rather use many different champions for many different situations and find interactions where they are OP, where there are cheeses available for specific matchups or specific node combinations, but ultimately use as much of my roster as possible or as required. Therefore, again, is why I am giving such a high praise to DLL characters. So let's break down Absorbing Man. Now, Absorbing Man is arguably the best champion released this year, but he's by no means broken at all in like a generic matchup. He's not easy to play, or should I say that if you're going to play him in the most straightforward way possible, he's going to be under average in terms of effectiveness in some random matchup. There are matchups that supercharge him, like every champion should, and then there is a benefit for your skill. The more skilled you are with Absorbing Man, the better results you will see. And the cool thing about Absorbing Man is that he is versatile. You can adopt him to many different matchups, and the best testament about Absorbing Man is the fact that you can take a Killmonger with him, you can take a Korg with him, you can take a ton of Cosmic Champions like Destroy Hulklings and Gallons and whatnot, and so on and so forth. So there is this wide range of very tricky, difficult fights that he can do if you are good enough with the champion. And also his reliance on light intercepts. Again, not that I'm great at light intercepts, and I kind of, part of me wishes that it could be any intercept or something. But at the same time, arrival of Absorbing Man, without a doubt, increased the skill level of players at large. And that happens, now and then, every now and then, Kabam releases a champion that teaches us some general things, how to better benefit from these mechanics. Like Ghost taught us how to do these, special attack intercepts and how to play with phasing champions. Like Quake had some skill cap. But then we also get champions like Tigra, for instance, that are not easy to play at all. But thanks to Tigra, we learn how to punish way more opponents' heavy attacks with our own heavy attacks or opponents' special attacks. And thanks to Tigra, now a whole contingent of Tigra players, comfortably dash in the middle of opponents' special attacks to be able to punish them with many random champions. So it's undoubtable that Tigra has increased the overall skill level of players that have committed to learning how to play Tigra. And the same thing has happened with Absorbing Man, because I can promise you that players who are light intercepting right now on the casual basically didn't exist. There was a very, very small amount of people, like 0.001% of the people or something like that, that frequently did the light intercepts at all times. Or maybe not that much, but definitely way less people. And definitely, they did it less often. Now, the champion has fulfilled basically every single role you would want him to in the contest. Has increased the overall skill level of the player base. He is, accessible to a moderate skill level players, not as effective, but still, he's still busted with virtually no skill requirement needed in the right matchups. And he's also, turns out to be a solid defender. So, I think, Absorbing Man is kind of like a standard of a very powerful yet balanced champion that rewards skill and is very useful in a ton of areas. Now, the second champion released was Kate Bishop. And Kate Bishop is, again, one of the best, skill champions in the game. She's easily a top 5 skill champion. And she has plenty of skill mechanics in there with the perfect release. So you need to learn how to time that, and you need to know which arrows you're going to use. You need to be able to control the fight. And there are plenty of abilities that reward skilled play, but additionally also holds a ton of utility to a point that Kate is one of the most versatile attackers because, well, to be fair, I think in this case, a ton of Kate Bishop's value is being held by the fact that majority of her damage comes from Cold Snap, which is one of the rarest immunities around, I would say, from the base dot effects and the fact that it's passive. But still, even then, there is just so much Caltrops, which actually gives her access to bleed damage. Obviously, Tranquilize is becoming more and more valuable as well. And then just generic damage increase mechanic. A lot of very, very good stuff in her offensively, and, some minor defensive value as well. It's not like Kate is an absolute cakewalk in all the matchups. She does have some defensive value, not too much, but she's definitely way more offensively focused character. Again, that's not busted because in generic vanilla situations, her damage output is on the higher end, but it's not super high in short fights, and in long fights, it does, fare up very well. And then the final champion, that is obviously the hardest to judge, is Photon. But Photon is yet another champion that, to me, appeals as a very powerful creation. And one of the biggest kind of pet peeves I have is I hate what I call cancer characters. I really don't like the characters that are designed just to punish players. And now with Battlegrounds, our attitude toward defensive champions have changed, and so has mine. But my attitude has not really changed for defensive-only champions, really. And here we're talking about something like Korg, for instance, where Korg, ever since he was introduced and released in a game, serves only one purpose: to make sure as many people as possible get KO'd, take unavoidable or hard to avoid damage, stall them, and basically make life hard. And it's one thing when you benefit from it, when you're placing your own Battlegrounds defense, of course, but in general, if you think about how much trouble Korgs have caused to players in between Alliance War, in between Quest, everything else, I don't like champions like this being added to the game. And most recently, we got a new one, basically. I'm not saying that Kindred is completely as useless on offense, or at the very least, how unsynergized Korg is. But Kindred is clearly the same type of champion that's designed to make you suffer, to make you take degens, to get you rooted, to just go stun immune, randomly throw heavy attacks in your face with a nasty AI. And he's genuinely designed to make you suffer. And I'm fine with the suffer part, as long as these champions also have redeeming qualities offensively. And again, Korg really doesn't, and Kindred really doesn't. And then we are looking at Photon, who is going to be a very tough defender, without a doubt. She is going to be tricky to fight against, something that people will have to learn and get used to. But she will also offer plenty of offensive value and offensive utility, and therefore it automatically does not feel as bad. Like, a lot of people hate fighting Hulkling, but Hulkling is also an offensive powerhouse. And therefore, we all have generically positive opinion of Hulkling, and we love him, and we appreciate him. And that's kind of the difference. Now, exactly where she will land in science class obviously is far too early to speculate. I have gotten only, well, it hasn't even been 24 hours since I have gotten my hands on a Photon, and I will make some video on her for sure, without doubt. But she's good. She's good offensively, and she's good defensively. And that is what you want to see from your champions. You want either them to be very powerful offensively, or both. You don't really want them to be just defenders. And then when we're looking at Photon's abilities, there are some things that we can debate. Again, it is going to be still very early days. Like that you wish some things could be more potent. You wish maybe you could pause some charges for a bit longer. But overall, the amount of utilities that she has in between, bypasses miss mechanics, solid damage output, access to some petrify, removal of willpower, access to a whole bunch of debuffs, taunt, phasing, bleed immunity. All that stuff is valuable and good. And I do think that it's quite safe to say, at the very least, that if we are grading this at pass-fail, and the bar is quite high, we must say that all three champions that have been designed by DLL are good, to say the least. I'd say amazing or great. It's probably my favorite champion of the year so far. Absorbing Man is not my favorite, but he's definitely very powerful. Photon is a bit too early to say, but yeah, none of them seem to be kind of like ill thought out. You can clearly tell how much thought has gone into designing every single one of those champions. And for that, I truly do appreciate what he has done. Now, obviously, that does not mean that I will or do agree with everything that he says or does and the opinions that he takes, but that much is obvious. He works for Kabam. It's his job to basically defend the company. At the same time, I will never, ever say that he's bad at his job if he keeps up designing champions like that. I do think at the moment of all the champions released this year, he is the champion designer whose creations I look forward to the most. Like when I'm going to be told that the next champion coming out next month is designed by DLL, I'll note it down, and I'm quite likely going to try and already figure out how to squeeze in time to grind for them in arenas or something like that. Because I know it's a meme at this point when Kabam Jack said our team doesn't miss. But DLL hasn't missed so far. Let me know what you guys think about all this situation, and I will catch you guys soon. Bye. Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. So we have all the information about